when Sujeev invited me, I had no option but to say, yes, I will come. I met Sujeev about 2 years ago, and I was really impressed when he described all of the efforts that he has been undertaking over the years, in particular at the time with the Himalayan Consensus Summit, and his self-professed ability to be a citizen of the Himalayas. So we at the World Bank believe very strongly that regional integration and cooperation is a key factor of growth, of prosperity. And so whenever there's an ability and an opportunity to support a forum such as this one that brings together key stakeholders from across multiple countries in South Asia, we think it's a very worthwhile effort. So we appreciate Sujeev and all of your interest in regionalism, because we know that the benefits are great and we need more inspired regionalists in this region. So as a result, we're absolutely delighted to be a partner in this effort, supporting Bhutan, India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. This aligns very closely with what we are trying to achieve at the World Bank. So let me cover 3 things in my remarks today. First, why do we think that regionalism, that regional integration, cooperation are important? Then I'll tell you a little bit about what we are doing in support of this agenda at the World Bank. And then I want to spend a bit of time talking about platforms, such as these, and the importance of these platforms. So why regional integration? I think we all know the facts in this region. This is one of the least integrated regions of the world. Only 5% of total trade is intra-regional. There are very thick borders to trade in this region. We have data that shows that an Indian firm wanting to trade with Bangladesh is going to face a lot of non-tariff barriers, a lot of costs and time incurred. As a result, for an Indian firm, it's actually 15 to 20% cheaper to trade with Germany or Brazil than with its neighbor, Bangladesh. With Nepal, a little bit cheaper, obviously. The borders are not quite as thick, but still a lot of delays and a lot of hassles involved. We have done some simulations that show that by better integrating the countries, the volume of intra-regional trade could at least triple to about $67 billion. We also know that by full integration, that means trade integration, more enabling trade agreements, but also allowing trucks to actually ply the roads of their neighbors through the implementation of the motor vehicle agreement, the GDP gains would be substantial. If all of this were to be implemented, we have estimated that the gains for India could be about 8 percentage points of improvement on GDP and 17% for Bangladesh. And we're currently running the numbers for Nepal. So by erecting these very thick borders to trade, the countries of South Asia are really limiting their ability not only to trade in goods and services, but also limiting the ability of people to cross freely, for tourists to benefit from the resources of their neighboring countries. And it's not only resulting in less growth, but it's also resulting in less opportunities to interact and to build community. And overall, what we know is that regional integration is not only an instrument for growth, it's also an instrument for peace. So it's not only connectivity. Another key area is that there's very limited cooperation on some of the topics that matter the most. Sujeev mentioned that climate is a key concern in this region. This is a region that is very vulnerable, that is very fragile, and airsheds, watersheds know no boundaries. Extreme weather events also know no boundaries. There is so much that the countries can do in terms of integrating systems, setting standards, sharing data, sharing resources, building capacity and knowledge together. So I'll come back to this and tell you a little bit about what we are doing in this area, but this is an area where we feel that the gains can be absolutely considerable. Another area is shocks to external events, not only climate, but think of the pandemic. We all went through COVID. I think we all have memories of that experience. There is probably another pandemic looming around the corner. Yet this is one of the only regions in the world that does not have a regional pandemic preparedness and response mechanism. No institution or no network of institutions capable of organizing a regional response. So those are the reasons why we think it's very important to act regionally in this, in South Asia. And what we call it #OneSouthAsia. So if you follow us on social media, that is really what we are aiming for, an integrated One South Asia. BBIN obviously is at the heart of that, but it extends beyond BBIN. So what are we doing at the World Bank? A number of things, and we've been doing this for about a dozen years. So we started this program. It was a bit of a gamble, and Ambassador Karim has been one of our key supporters since the very early days, not knowing if this agenda would have traction. But we've had quite a lot of success, and we've been able to support the governments of South Asia in a number of endeavors. The first is economic connectivity. We have a large program on trade and transport connectivity. We're supporting economic corridors. We're supporting a lot of work at the borders, trying to thin those borders by automating systems, by modernizing customs, putting in national single windows. A lot of that work is happening here in Nepal, but also in Bangladesh and Bhutan and India. We are also working quite a lot on other modes of transport. So this is a region that has been connected through railways, that has been connected through inland waterways, and there's been quite a lot of effort to revive those modes of transportation so that the region doesn't rely so much on road transport only, but has opportunities to interconnect these in an intramodal way. On the climate front, a number of initiatives. One is the South Asia Hydromet Forum, which actually met last week in Colombo for its 4th edition, with about 200 participants and opening from the president of Sri Lanka. This is a sector that is not highly visible. This is about science. It's hydrology, it's meteorology. It might not be the most visible topic, and yet we know that without good hydrology and meteorology, there is no good forecasting. Without good forecasting, there are no good early warning systems, and this is so important to save lives and to save livelihoods. We have some data that shows that $1 invested in Hydromet can yield up to $36 in terms of gains. That means that by putting a value on the livelihoods and the lives saved, it can be an absolute tremendous gain. So what we do with this forum is that we bring together practitioners. They work together to share data, to share modeling, to improve the systems and the forecasting, and also to pull resources and to build capacity. So that's one example of how we are supporting the region. Another that I'd like to flag, and I think you all see the consequences here in Kathmandu, is air pollution. This is a region that over the years has been suffering tremendously from deteriorating air quality. This is not only just a nuisance when you wake up in the morning, it has true implications. We estimate that for South Asia, this is causing about 2 million premature deaths every year. It's really what we call a silent killer. And it's not only the health that is suffering. This results in lower GDP, lower productivity, less ability to attract investors and tourists, right? Tourists don't want to come visit a country that has thick smog over its cities or its sites. We also know that this is a problem that can be solved. Other regions have done it. The US, Europe, China have done it. It is not an easy problem to solve, but it can be solved. About a year ago, I was actually here in Kathmandu. We had a joint event with ECMOD, and we launched a regional report that we've produced called Striving for Clean Air. In this report, we identified the sources of pollution across the Indo-Gangetic Plain, and we were able to demonstrate very clearly that about 30% of the polluted air in any given locality within the Indo-Gangetic Plain comes from a neighbor. So it can be a neighboring state, it can be a neighboring country. So the conclusion is that by trying to solve this alone, say Kathmandu City, Kathmandu Valley, say Nepal alone, there are very limited opportunities to really make a difference. In this report, we modeled 4 scenarios in terms of what can be done. And the 4th scenario, which is one where you have full regional collaboration, all of the countries from Pakistan to India, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, and the states of India collaborating, we could get much better results, much faster results, and much cheaper, about 45% less in terms of cost. So this is a clear example of an opportunity to work regionally, to act regionally, to make a big difference in the lives of the citizens and in the economies. So I could go on. There are many other examples of work we're doing, but let me just turn to my 3rd point, because I'm not seeing but I can see Sujeev nodding, that it's probably time to move on. So the last point I wanted to make is referring to this forum. What we have found in this region is, and we all know this, I'm stating the obvious, unfortunately, is this is a region that has very weak regional institutions. And it's something that I lament. I think we all do. We would love to see more empowered regional institutions. But in the absence of that, the way to proceed and to build consensus for a way forward is through these types of platforms and forum. So at the World Bank, we've been quite deliberate in supporting a number of these efforts. And we do this in combination with analytical work, where we try to provide evidence to the benefits of regional integration. You've heard me give a few of these data points, but also the how-to. And then we also have a portfolio of investments, so we can support investments in transport and energy or other such sectors, and we have a dedicated window for regional. But everything originates in these types of forum. This is where all of you here, can build awareness, can build consensus, can build a way forward. So let me give you a few examples of such platforms that we have supported over the years. One is that we've recently put together a network of editors and journalists. What is quite striking in this region is that there tends to be quite a negative rhetoric around, oh, it's the least integrated region, nothing can happen, nothing can work, and yet we have seen over the past decade that a lot of things are happening. I didn't mention electricity trade. That's another area where, mostly here in Nepal, you've seen the great benefits of integrating with India. So there actually are good stories. There are some shining lights. So we are working with this network to try to create a more positive narrative. Another initiative that we've supported now over the past 20 years, so this is one that really has staying power, is the South Asia Economic Student Meet. And I joined their 19th session about 2 weeks ago in Colombo, and I was really quite impressed. This is a grassroots initiative. It's originated in the economics departments of the University of South Asia. It's professors who have seen the benefit of bringing students together, and I was really encouraged to see these bright young people doing research collaboratively, learning from each other, and having these opportunities to bond. And what we've seen is these alumni over the years have continued to interact, to work together. Many are now in positions of leadership in government or academia and continue to work together. So I won't say much more. There are many other such examples, but I really wanted to finish my remarks with this point, because what you are doing today is planting a seed that will need to be watered, will need to be nurtured, but I really do hope that this is one more of these forums that will continue to gain traction, to grow, to sustain, and to lay the foundations for more integration, more cooperation. Because in the end, governments can do a lot, private sector can do a lot, citizens can do a lot, and it's by coming together that you will see the greatest benefits. And I want to just put a plug-in, a final plug-in for a report that my colleague Mandaka Nicole here produced about a year ago, which is a compilation of stories that we've called Good Neighbors. And so we've really looked at what are some of those good examples? How have people come together in sometimes, less predictable ways around sports, around arts, and you have a lot of art here, and that we know these are the types of activities that also bring together. So how can we continue to bring together people who are connected, have been connected for centuries, maybe more divided today because of political boundaries, but share a lot. And that's what we are aiming to do, is to help build on those strong foundations, build on those strong connections for more prosperity, more growth on a livable planet. So with that, thank you very much, and it's an honor to be here.